Paul, I want to see a Batman movie this week.
I'm guessing you don't want to see just any old Batman.
No, Paul. Not just any Batman. I'd prefer some legitimacy.
Well, you're in luck, as this week, The Batman is opening across the country.
The Batman?
Yes, Adam. The Batman. The infamous Batman.
Wow, the infamous? Infamous?
It's Monday Movie Nonsense!
Some days you just can't get rid of them.
Welcome to Monday Movie Nonsense, episode 26, Paul, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Paul, is it possible we've been doing this show for a half a year already?
We didn't want to do it, but they keep making movies.
They keep
so
making movies, yes, and that's why we're going to. This show will continue to keep happening Monday at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. If you've seen our movies, attended our live shows, or watched us on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, or seen the video Liam Neeson Orders a Pizza, then you know that we're all about the nonsense, and the show is going to be new and different nonsense every week, depending upon what movies are coming out, what trailers are going on, whatever inspires us.
If you didn't think Liam Neeson Orders a Pizza was nonsense, log off.
Yeah. It's a lot of nonsense going on there, and there's going to be some nonsense here as well. But please, if you're enjoying the show, like, subscribe, hit the alarm bell so that you know when we're going live, even though it's every Monday. But who knows? We might come on randomly or whatever. But we'd like more people. You know, if you're watching the show and you're like, these guys get me and I get these guys, well, then tell one of your friends that this is the place to go. And of course, what's that?
Just one.
Just one.
Tell one of your
So anyway, but also check us out on social media. Follow us at The Movie Guys, or go to themovieguys.net for our podcasts, our appearances on radio and other shows, reviews, articles. We got everything. I mean, really, you could just search on the internet or just ask any ball licker how to find us.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
And we come right up. So, but we're going to get to our guest right away here, which is very exciting, because as you know, we always cover the New Beverly calendar, and I have run into, and Paul has run into our first guest here many times there, and he's such a wonderful source of knowledge on movies. And, you know, when you're walking out of the New Beverly and you want to have a discussion, you're like, I must have a discussion. And then a lot of times our following guest is right there for a great discussion immediately after a movie. It just happened to me 2 days ago. You know him from Beat the Geeks on Comedy Central, which really kind of might make him the founding father of movie geekdom. You know, that's a very high profile guy that knows as much about movies as you or I, and you see him on TV and you're like, yes, I'm not the only one. And of course, as a fellow competitor on the wacky world of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, please welcome to the show, Marc Edward Heuck.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. The reception got a little buggy again, so it was like I was dialing my car stereo and just heard a bunch of movie trivia, movie guys, but I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I can't guarantee that.
I'm seeing a movie gut in there, but it's getting eaten by some Linux.
I can't guarantee that's not what we said, Mark. So.
Well, let's pray for good reception for Mark here during the. Yes, Haskell, it's Mark. We're very excited about this because, as I said, I ran it, and we'll get to the movies we saw a couple nights ago. But I just want to say I think Mark could provide a service, a paid service, where he'll sit in the theater with you, so that when you leave a movie and you're inspired and you're like, I must talk to someone. Like, thankfully, the last few times I've been to the New Beverly, Mark's been right there to have a great conversation about things with. So, we should ask a couple questions here before we get into the New Beverly calendar. Mark, how long have you been going to the New Beverly?
Well, really, the New Beverly was one of the first theaters I visited when I first moved here on February 4th, 1999. Okay. So...
Wow.
I mean, I didn't visit it that specific date, but it was like among the first, I'd say the first 5 theaters that I went to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's obviously it's so addicting immediately when you see what they're showing there, right?
Oh, yeah. The one of the first things I noticed were the calendars back when the late Sherman Torgan was doing the programming, and he was doing all sorts of really innovative ideas and combos, and it was a great loss to the LA film community when he unexpectedly passed away in 2007. But it is also so inspiring that his son and then Quentin and so many other people have stepped up to keep the theater alive and vibrant and interesting.
Yeah, because it is just, it is just the greatest place on earth. I mean, every time I'm there, I've always said, there's many times in life where I'm happy, but I don't sit there and go, I am so happy right now. But when they start their they show you a cartoon, and then they got those trailers, and then you're about to watch something, like a Gene Hackman movie or Lee Marvin movie. I just always say to myself, I am so happy right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it is just such a total experience that is rarely found in any other venue in Los Angeles, let alone in the nation.
Right.
Of just the veritable archive they have of shorts, of bumpers, of trailers that you just don't see anywhere, or you never see assembled in the context that they present it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
For me, my first I got here in May 2000.
Okay.
And I remember the first theater I went to, and I don't want to say I've been here a long time, but it's gone. It's that one that's at Sycamore. We used to be at Sycamore in Hollywood Boulevard. I saw X-Men there, I believe.
Okay.
And you go right there. There's like a drugstore on the corner. I think it's across from the kitty corner from the Buffalo Wild Wings, and just past that, there's like a little courtyard. And you used to go up this escalator, and there was a movie theater up there. It's long gone. I don't know what's there now, but it took me a long time to get to the New Beverly. I think just because of unaware, and which is odd to think now that I'm so tuned into movies that would slip my mind, but it took a while for me to get there.
Well, I'm so lucky, and I'm not trying to one-up anybody, but New Beverly was when I moved here in October of 2006, August, September, somewhere in there. It was the very first theater I went to because my friend L.A. Ray is a great social, he'll send you, here's a cool thing going on, here's a cool thing going on, here's this underground thing going on, and he's great about that. And as soon as I got here, he sent me for their, it was the Monday or Tuesday they did their exploitation nights back then, and sent it to me. I didn't have a car. Didn't know LA yet. I had to figure out how to take the buses from Canoga Park. I was living with Bart Caius, movie guys, Bart Caius, all the way down to the New Beverly, and it's been home ever since. But Mark, you write for the website as well.
Yes, in fact, a new essay just got dropped on the site today, where I explore the women that directed films for Roger Corman's various film companies from the 70s into 2000.
Oh,
and well, because one of the bookings on the calendar in late March is a double feature of Humanoids from the Deep and Lords of the Deep, which were both directed by women.
Really?
Although Humanoids has segments that were not done by its original director, and she vigorously objected to those segments, even though those are the segments that most people remember now, and you're, in a sense, kind of the draw. But it is safe to say, and you'll see this in my essay, that there are more women that got an opportunity to direct during Corman's active years making films. I mean, he still makes films, but not nearly as many, and they're not as widely seen anymore because they're mostly going, to Sci-Fi Channel or streaming. He's certainly not as prolific as he used to be, so it's not quite the same as the heyday. But I did the math that for a 30-year period from 71 to 2000, Corman's companies released films by 19 different women. And it's not like the majors weren't releasing films by women, but it took them longer to get into the game. And some of them, most of them, they had to have some bona fides before they already got to direct. Whereas if you were a woman in the Corman studio, you might, start out just doing, prop supervision or editing or some other thing, but you had a good opportunity that sooner or later you might get a chance to direct something. That there's an old Bogdanovich quote where he said, Roger's the kind of person who asks if you can swim, and if you say yes, he throws you in the water.
Which is, the same way he launched so many legendary filmmakers, from Martin Scorsese and Ron Howard, James Cameron. If he saw talent, he's like, I need people with your sort of get them.
If he saw talent that was cheap as well, let us not say that he was some great altruistic feminist.
Right.
He was looking for people who could work on a budget, but he also liked nurturing talent. My favorite, Ron Howard, was making Grand Theft Auto, and he was coming up against all of these limitations, and Roger said to him, if you do a good job on this movie, you'll never have to work for me again.
Corman, what a treasure he is. That's what a great analysis, because there's been such a big push recently in Hollywood to have more diversity in directors, and that's often stated how few women are directing movies, and so that's a really great angle for the article.
Well, yeah, because again, that to get any kind of directing gig, let alone a studio directing gig, because people forget, in the silent era, there were a lot of women directors. You had Alice Guy Blanchet, you had Lois Weber, you had a lot of women doing really creative stuff. And with the advent of sound, suddenly all these women just got pushed out of the business. For years, the only woman working in the studio system as a director was Dorothy Arzner, who I just happened to do a podcast on her complete works with the wonderful Bea Peterson, which you can find on the Screen's Margins podcast network. It's called Dance Dorothy Dance. But then after Dorothy Arzner retired, Ida Lupino directed for a little while. So you had them very sporadically in the studio system, if at all. You had some others who had enough independent money to just go on their own, but they'd only get seen by certain numbers of people. And again, in the 70s and onward, when they finally started using more women, you still had to get your credits elsewhere. It's not like they were going to take, unless you had a big name like Joan Rivers, and they'll say, okay, you've never directed a film before, but you're funny, we'll take a chance. You somebody else had to take the chance on you, and you had to prove yourself worthy enough to get into the studio system. And here's Roger, cheapskate that he is, saying, oh, well, this woman did a good job doing the editing and the second unit work. It's time to let her direct. Promote from within. That's something you don't hear a lot about in the studio system, is nurturing and uplifting someone into being ready to direct.
Wow. Yeah, that's what a fascinating angle. What we know Corman did and what we enjoy that Corman does ultimately ended up promoting, diversity for directors that we're just now getting back to in some ways.
And thankfully, a lot of those people are still directing. You've got Kat Shea, who started off as an actress for Corman and wound up writing and directing, and she has a movie dropping on Netflix this month. I think it's Rescued by Rudy. It's a uplifting tale of, I guess it's the Netflix version of Channing Tatum's Dog. So it's like,
okay,
she's probably not getting nearly as much money as his project did, but it'll be good. And Catherine Bigelow never directed for Corman per se, but she did work on some of his other projects. And of course, she and Cameron were a long-time item, and Cameron definitely got his start with Corman.
Yeah, for sure.
So this type of stuff is fodder for conversation, just being around the New Beverly. So I just wanted to reach out to people who might not be in Los Angeles but are watching the show, and to be like, how can I connect here? Because the New Beverly, first of all, if you're in LA and you want to watch a movie, you can bring friends over to your house. You might have 1 or 2, 3 or 4, maybe 10 if you have a backyard or something. But when you go to the New Beverly to see your favorite movie, you are surrounded by like-minded people who love this thing that you're there to see. So that's great. And the thing about being out of town right now and watching a show where we're talking about the New Beverly a lot, it just spurs movie talk of an immense kind because of the selection of movies that they have and the items that are represented in the blog. I wanted to bring that up first, but then I have Adam, go ahead. No,
I highly suggest people, yes, if you're, if these are too much bragging that we have access to New Beverly and you feel any pang of jealousy, do your own double features at home for the movies that you're seeing on the New Beverly calendar.
True. Yeah.
It's, before I moved here, Tarantino used to do the Quentin Tarantino Festival in Austin, and I would play along in Chicago by renting and getting stuff off of eBay of the same schedule,
And I'll say that I have never seen Tarantino at the theater, and now I think he lives in Israel, so I don't know if I will. I mean, that's what I heard recently in his interview with Bill Maher. But Adam, you have. Mark, have you seen Quentin at the theater? Oh, Mark. Mark.
I have not seen him on the premises in so many weeks. But that's the thing. You never know when he's going to show up or what for. So, and that's a beautiful thing. I would say there are plenty of other theater operators in other cities that are making their own valiant attempts to mirror the innovative programming of the Bev, and if you live in one of those cities, you should actively seek them out and support them as best you can. That nobody's going to do exactly the same that the Bev is doing because they may not have the same resources or access to material, but there's plenty of people that are doing their best. You see it in some of the cities where Alamo Drafthouse and their programmers operate. You see it in Chicago with the Music Box. You see it in places you wouldn't expect, like Shelbyville, Indiana has an amazing drive-in called the Skyline that I'm going to be going to the East Coast for a couple months, and I'm going to be visiting there several times because they mostly do first run, but they do a lot of repertory programming as well. and it's really, off the beaten path and innovative, and they have a dynamite concession stand. So,
wow. I have threatened, mostly in my head, but for years, to move back to my hometown of Oxford, Ohio. I worked at the movie theater there. I was the video store geek when that became chic in that town. And the last time I went there, for the last 5 or 6 years, they haven't had a movie theater in town. And the prevailing opinion is, well, everybody has Netflix now. And I'm like, you have no idea how well a Brew and View style bar, with a movie theater showing cool stuff for college kids, like, the midnight movies, if you program it like the New Beverly, how successful that would be. Someday I'm just going to go do that.
Yeah, it's not my preferred way of viewing, but I still have a few fond memories of my college years when you go to the student union and somebody rigged up a 16 millimeter projector in one of the dining areas and did film nights, and it was. Wasn't the most polite audience, but it was, you were getting a communal experience.
Yes, it wasn't the most polite audience. They showed Star Wars at our student union on 16 millimeter, and at that time I had a VCR and I could watch it, but I was like, I haven't seen it projected in a long time. I haven't seen it in the theater. That was the wrong place to go because everybody had turned that into Rocky Horror for shouting things back and laughing. And I don't know. I mean, obviously I understand that now. You get what you're going into at that point. But at the time I was like, what is everyone doing? This is Star Wars. What is wrong with you people?
It's about finding that crucial balance between reverence and enthusiasm. That either sometimes you get too much reverence, like if you go to like a museum screening, which is vital, but you feel like like you're in church and you haven't been to confession.
Yeah.
Or you get the situation like you had where everybody is pulling out their wisecracks that they've stolen from other better comedians
right.
and doing them at the wrong time.
Right.
So,
yeah, I guess that's the other problem is nobody there was being very funny about it. These have been terrible jokes.
What I think we all look for as movie lovers is kind of the same thrill we have if we hear our favorite song on the radio, that we may have that album at home and we can put it on at any time, and we may even have multiple permutations of it in superior sound quality. But at that moment, when you hear it on the radio, there is the potential of thousands of other people hearing it at the same time as you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Gosh, that's a wonderful crystallization of what it is like to come across a song you like on the radio, actually.
And you
like everybody's...
You mentioned museum screenings, and I don't know if you were talking specifically about the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, which is new, but that is another place to go to find a lot of old and classic.
They are doing some terrific programming there, and I am not maligning any museum here in Los Angeles that does screenings. They need support. I am speaking as a groundling, someone who loves art and appreciates it, but sometimes just feels overwhelmed by it all. And I like the fact that later this month at the New Beverly, they're going to be playing one of the artsiest art films that ever arted, which is Chantal Akerman's Jean Diehlmann 23K to Bruxelles.
Yes.
And I can go and watch all 3 hours of that and eat a hot dog and popcorn.
Okay, that is the perfect intro. It is time to talk about the New Beverly calendar because I am so excited for you to tell Paul.
I'm on a podcast. I am on a podcast, sir.
Lower it. I don't care what you are. Just lower your voice.
This is what happens when you don't have good Wi-Fi at home.
That's okay. We can still hear you with the lower register, but we like getting excited and shouting about movies. So
Yes.
But hey, let's do the intro to the calendar, and we'll talk about it, because I want you to explain to Paul about Chantal Akerman's film, because this is one of those classic New Beverly things. So the rare opportunity. So let me share the screen here. Let me find my my calendar tab. Here we go. All right. Oh, that's full screen, isn't it?
No, I got it.
Oh, you got it? Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, great.
Well, you're getting a partial.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll scroll through it here. But
No, I need to go. Right.
Yeah. Scroll it up for us, Paul. But of course, we can't talk about the New Beverly calendar without saying,
The new phone book's here! The new phone book's here!
okay. All right, so yes, this is a salute to women in film, which obviously goes along with what the fascinating article that I can't wait to read that you wrote there, Mark, because we have a month of female directors.
Well, not all the directors on this calendar are female, but it is that in one way or another there is a significant female contribution. That if it's not a female director, it's there's a lot of films where Edith Head was in charge of the costumes, and that's a significant contribution. Or you have a really powerful leading actress such as the Michelle Yeoh double feature, or even like Nightmare Alley, which is co-scripted by Kim Morgan, who used to write for the New Beverly blog.
Indeed.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Okay. Thank you. There's a good explanation, because some of these in here aren't directed by females, but obviously Jane Campion we're starting off with. And I just watched Power of the Dog on Netflix, and I could have thrown something through the TV at how bad streaming is. It's like being back on VHS, and this is one of the most beautiful movies of the year. And I kept seeing all this YouTube fuzz, and I was like, I got to go see this at the theater.
Oh yeah, and I believe that evening Campion is appearing in person, which means it's probably sold out by now. But
Wow. Amazing, right? Jane Campion's just going to show up at the New Beverly. It's so special.
Haven't even seen her make a movie for years, and now she's showing up in person. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have an Edith Head tribute, Sabrina and Roman Holiday, and of course, Edith Head and Audrey Hepburn. I mean, it's just that those two go so hand in hand for her being the fashion plate,
Mm-hmm.
And pretty surprising, Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Real Genius. I had to learn well later on that those were female-directed movies, which is pretty fascinating. For
Not
time.
I had the Real Genius poster in my room all growing up, so I knew that was Martha Coolidge from
Martha
the get-go.
Coolidge.
It's very bizarre how Martha Coolidge and Amy Heckerling constantly get intersected, because you've got this wonderful double feature right here, and then in the past there have been double features of Martha Coolidge's Valley Girl with Amy Heckerling's Clueless. So there's this wonderful symbiosis between these two great directors.
And then Doris Wishman. This is a very famous name that I knew back in the day of. You used to get this magazine catalog of all the VHS you could buy from, like Something Weird Video, and there was another company like that. And Doris Wishman, that was the first time I ever heard this name. Now she's a nudie cutie type director, right? This is a real Monday exploitation double feature.
Oh yes, and I just happen to have another article on the blog about Doris and the two main actresses who are in each of these movies.
Okay.
So I strongly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, and I heard for being made as like nude, and first of all, a female making these nudie movies, but I've heard these are actually, pretty enjoyable actual movies. Like they're real movies.
Well, Bad Girls Go to Hell is what they call a roughie. That Doris started off in the nudist camp genre, and then she segued for a while into what was called the roughie, which was kind of like a film noir, but with more sexual innuendo, usually a lot of misanthropy and some sort of moralistic ending because it was still the 60s.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Wow. Great insight. Great insight. Can you tell me anything about But I'm a Cheerleader or Debs? I don't know anything about these movies. I've heard the names, but that's it.
Well, I have not seen either of these films, but they both have tremendous casts. They are both lesbian directors, and the woman who did Debs directed one of my favorite movies from a few years back, Professor Marston and the Wonder Women.
Oh, same director.
Yes, and she even directed Herbie Fully Loaded with Lindsay Lohan. These are the first films of first features of each of these terrific women.
Wow. Okay. Wow. This is great. Let's see. We got Tai Chi Master and Wing Chun, which are great. Those are two Michelle Yeoh films I've never seen. I know I've seen a few Michelle Yeoh films, but not these two. So that looks pretty exciting to see in a theater. These
I have not seen them either.
Yeah. All About Eve.
And this is also about the time. Well, I wanted to throw in that this is about the time in March where a new film by Michelle Yeoh will be hitting theaters. So there's going to be a new generation discovering her, and
that's a very good point.
they have a chance to go back and see some of her classics.
Oh, great. That's a great thing to add. Okay, yeah. What's the new Michelle Yeoh film?
It's by the Daniels, right? That one?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, what is it called?
I believe it's Everything Everywhere at Once.
Oh, that's her.
Correct.
That's Michelle Yeoh's in that.
She's the lead. Yeah, very much so. An alternate universe movie that is not Marvel. So.
Now, am I in movie jail because I've never seen All About Eve? I don't believe. Am I in movie jail?
No. What you get is the enormous privilege of seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, at the New Beverly. Yeah. Wow. So don't miss that one.
I've taken that same stance with people who tell me they haven't seen something. I'm like, I envy you. You have that to look forward to in your life.
It's true.
Because you haven't seen.
You get to see it for the first time.
You haven't seen The Untouchables? Well, I look for it. Whatever.
Now, and then is the X by Ty West, which we can talk about now. I pulled a little trailer clip of it, but I think that ties into my discussion about Texas Chainsaw Massacre later on in the show, and so maybe we'll do that when Mark is taken off. But here we go.
Okay, then the next one. What the hell is this?
All right, so Mark, tell Paul, and I have a clip of this too. Should I play the clip first, or do you want to introduce it? What the concept of this movie is, Mark?
Okay, Jean Diehlmann is a very long film about a ordinary Belgian woman who has a daily ritual and also works as a high-end sex worker. And so we spend extended periods of time just seeing her go through her daily thing, making food for her and her son, seeing clients, doing her housework, and then one day just something trips up her ritual and you begin to see the cracks.
Okay.
So the real time, because again, this is over 3 hours, but because you're living in with her daily routine, you're really feeling when she starts going off of it.
Oh, okay. Fascinating. Okay, yeah, and here's what... Now, I don't think it's 4 frames at once. This is the trailer. It might just be showing you various shots. So, Paul, this is the sort of film I don't think you would ordinarily see, but the treat of seeing this ultra art film, art house experiment, I mean, I'm going to have to go and sit there for 3 hours to say I did it, and from what I've heard, love it.
It's a challenge because I didn't care for Amour, and that's what Amour felt like. Just watching long, slow sequences of people's lives. And, you got to get in the mindset for that. I can be in it. I wasn't when I watched them more, but we'll see if that changes.
Well, Last Days, the movie by Gus Van Sant, just absolutely pulled me in, hypnotized me, and I adore the pace of that movie. And I did see an interview when I started looking up some clips of this from Gus Van Sant, where he said that was a major influence on The Last Days. So I've always been interested in this, just as that sort of like art house like experiment. Like, can you watch a woman make potatoes for 3 hours, or whatever the premise is? But to see it in a theater, you just never get to do that.
Sounds very Warhol.
It is very Warhol. That's
what we call Warhol is sometimes, technically Paul Morrissey, but the point taken.
True.
Yeah, well, true. But even the actual Warhol, like My Hustler, or which people always talk about Empire, but that's not the real Warhol. The like My Hustler, where it's full 20-minute loads of two people having a conversation, then another location, 20 more minutes of conversation. That is much more the Warhol aesthetic, I think.
Who directed Jean Diehlmann?
Chantal Akerman.
Okay, you did say that earlier. Okay, and did Chantal Akerman have a career that put any notoriety on it?
She has a great resume of films that are worth seeking out. Not all of them are as drawn out as this one. She did a really great musical called Window Shopping, aka I believe Golden 80s, which is just so colorful and vibrant, and it's one of the most 80s movies that 80s. So
okay, so a rare opportunity to see that in a theater in the New Beverly with a bunch of people that are into it. That's got to happen. Okay, and then we got Place in the Sun, The Heiress, another classic. Well, I don't know The Heiress. I know Place in the Sun.
The Heiress is based on the book Washington Square by Edith Wharton, and it is about an heiress who is at odds with her terrible father, who gets into a relationship with a scoundrel who is clearly after her money, but she's still fond of him.
Right. Okay. Well, it's a William Wyler film, so I mean, obviously that's going to be, pretty enjoyable. Nightmare Alley, which I actually did see the black and white version of at the New Beverly. That's coming back, which
and everybody go see it. It's one of my favorite Best Picture Oscar nominees. I mean, just in the fact that it was nominated, I'm like, whoa, that was a bit of a reach outside of the movies that were being talked about at the time to give that a nomination. One of the great reasons there's 10 nominees to include something fantastic like Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, and I'm so happy I saw it in black and white for the first time, because I wanted my first impression of that movie to be black and white, and I still haven't seen it in color, which I'm very proud of. I mean, I would like to see it again, but I'm going to try and see it in black and white again, I think. And here we go, aquatic horror double. I'm absolutely here for this. I love Humanoids from the Deep, because I'm a big James Horner fan. I think that score is by him, actually. But what is... go ahead and talk about this, Mark, because this is the one you wrote your article on. And I've never heard of Lords of the Deep.
Lords of the Deep was basically Roger Corman seeing that, oh my God, there's going to be a whole bunch of underwater movies opening in 1980, whenever. That, okay, we've got The Abyss, we've got Deep Star 6, we've got Leviathan.
Okay.
I've got to get in on this before everybody else does. So. And this is the only directorial credit for a woman named Mary Ann Fisher, who was one of these people that had done numerous other jobs for Corman before she got the chance to direct. That she became his head of production when she was 25.
Okay. Oh, wow. Wow. That's amazing. I can't wait to read your article. Humanoids of the Deep, I know, coming, even though it's not much of a Jaws riff, but certainly Corman went to the water a lot more after Jaws. So it's very interesting that the water terrors of the 70s are represented in the water terrors of the late 80s, as you mentioned as well, are represented. So that's very excited about that night. And then where else you going to see Rear Window and To Catch a Thief? In a theater, in a double feature, and another Edith Head tribute. That's just amazing. A couple of my favorites, Coffee and Foxy Brown. Foxy Brown more than Coffee because it has a sense of humor. Coffee is actually quite serious. But that's to see those in the theater, in Quentin Tarantino's theater. It's good stuff. Marie Antoinette and the Bling Ring, obviously Sophia Coppola.
Wait, let me just go back for a second, because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is there. I love that movie. I've seen it like 4 times. I would go again in a heartbeat. In fact,
That's true.
I haven't seen it at the New Beverly yet, so this is a good opportunity.
Oh yes. Anytime you get a chance to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at the New Beverly, you should take advantage of it, because much like everything else, they have exclusive material that they run before the movie, stuff that's not on the Blu-ray.
Awesome.
The only way to see it is in a theatrical setting, and usually the vintage trailers that they program before are top-notch.
But would this be the most female-centric Tarantino movie? It's interesting that we didn't get a Kill Bill or a Jackie Brown or even a Death Proof for here. But, I mean, again, I've said this a million. Go ahead.
Well, it's Quentin's birthday, so they get to
his
walk away
choice
from the theme.
Okay, nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah, my
and then
the thing about that movie that I've said before, I'll repeat, is I think he showed Sharon Tate movies enough at the New Beverly to where Quentin fell in love with Sharon Tate, and he made this movie to kill those with extreme prejudice who would dare hurt her. So no doubt on his birthday, he's just like, let's get the romance going and show this movie.
Yeah.
And praise Sharon Tate once again. So there you go.
That's and the movie that she sees in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I luckily got to, which I can't think of the name of, the Matt Helm movie. Wrecking Crew. Got to see that at the New Beverly myself. So the scenes where she's watching it in there, I'm like, it just makes me also in love with the New Beverly. Then we got Sophia Coppola. I have not. These are 2 Sophia Coppola movies I have not seen. So I think I'm going to be there a lot this month.
I've seen Marie Antoinette. I don't know the Bling Ring. But...
Yeah, don't know the Bling Ring.
Thoughts on the Bling Ring, Mark?
I enjoyed it when it came out. There was a bunch of great performances in there, and it's that Sophia Coppola has a niche about telling stories about semi-affluent young women who, it's that they're so detached from what's going on. It's not even, negative or, detrimental. It's just like that they kind of didn't have a chance to begin with.
Well, I'm always fascinated the angle she brings to any of her stories, and I just don't even know what her angle is on these. So that's a good tip-off there. And then we wind up the month with The Sting and The Great Waldo Pepper, which is not only a Robert Redford double feature, but an Edith Head double feature. And some famous costumes as well in both of those.
Yeah, I think The Sting is one of those movies that everybody thinks they know because it gets name-checked so often. Right. And, there was that wonderful Community episode where they kept name-checking it and realized we've never actually watched this movie. And then, they watch it and they realize, oh, this has no bearing on what we're trying to do whatsoever.
Yeah, I had that once with Guys and Dolls. Someone invited me to go see Guys and Dolls, a production in a theater, and I was like, okay, again with the Guys and Dolls, like, they do these shows all the time. Guys and Dolls, Sound of Music, West Side Story.
Oh well, so we haven't even talked about the Midnights and the Friday matinees.
Coming up here. I got to go to a different page here.
Okay.
But I went to see Guys and Dolls. I sat down in front of it, and I went, oh, I've never seen Guys and Dolls.
There we go.
It just feels like I've seen Guys and Dolls.
That's a good way to put it, actually. Hey, Paul, as we look at the midnights and matinees here, let's just start at the matinees at the top here, because I believe we're coming up on Temple of Doom recording for the Ford Fiesta. So this might be a really good afternoon to go see it in the theater, then record our reaction to it.
Who's on the docket to join us for that episode? Did we pick somebody?
Temple of
no,
Doom?
nobody. We'll have to grab somebody and go check that out. Absolutely.
So you can go with us to the New Beverly, because that would be good.
That'd be this Friday afternoon. All right,
Is
we'll
that
see
this
what
Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
But
Yeah.
that is one of the last times I saw that was at the Arrow. But the time before that was a New Beverly, doubled with Last Crusade.
You know, we're lucky enough to see Raiders of the Lost Ark in the theater almost every year. I've seen it almost every year, but I haven't seen Temple of Doom in a theater since the original. So
wow.
I probably have to go to this.
Yeah, you know what a party it is.
Yeah.
It's like just a wacky good party.
Oh yeah, but just getting into it. And the Terminator. I don't have I ever seen the Terminator in a theater? The original? I don't think so.
Wow, I don't know that I have.
I don't think I have. I probably have to do that, and I've seen that movie 100 times. But let's go to some of the midnights here. You got any of these you're interested in, Mark?
Oh, well, the one that I really would like people to take a gamble on and check out is Daisies.
Daisies? I don't know this at all.
This is
Never even heard of it.
Wonderfully subversive film from what used to be Czechoslovakia in the mid-'60s by a director named Vera Chytilova about two girls who are kind of they're portrayed they're presented initially as kind of male blank canvas male ideals who proceed to just go on an anarchic spree through the patriarchy for 80 minutes. It's very surreal. It's very loony. There's a lot of filmmakers that have taken inspiration from this film, and it's if you haven't been inclined to go see a Cyrillic language subtitled film from the 60s at midnight, this should be your first one then.
I mean, I absolutely have to. This feels like the thing that someone slides you at Facets when you're trying to rent something else. You're like, no. What you really want is Daisies. And you're like, what is this? But yeah, and there's a Czech New Wave that I know nothing of, and I love New Waves. We're going to talk about the British New Wave momentarily when we talk about John Borman. But wow, okay. So you've seen this movie, and this is
yes,
yeah.
I need to get to Jennifer's Body. I hear that I overlooked that movie.
I know, same
and
here.
that it's quite the great film.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I wrote about Jennifer's Body the last time it played the Bev a few years ago, and if you ever want to look up any of my older essays at the blog, the best thing to do is you go into Google, with the quotation marks, use New Beverly, my name, and the title of the film, and and because if I wrote about it, you'll find it.
Okay, great. Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see what you have to say about this, because I hear so much about this movie, and I haven't seen it. Karen Kusama, and written by
Diablo Cody.
Diablo Cody, that's right.
It is a besides being a really fun horror film, it is a really great distillation of trying to extricate yourself out of a toxic friendship.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Amanda Seyfried, huh? Okay, and the one that I'm excited about, two things here. These now these are the family matinees, 2 p.m. here. I've never seen an Elvis movie in the theater. I've always wanted to watch more Elvis movies, and this is one I forget about. Even though it's got Ursula Andress in it, fresh off of Dr. No, and it's going to be these Technicolor prints that they show there. Like Fun in Acapulco, definitely would be a really fun one to see. Just Elvis movies, they're such an odd bird of a genre, and there's tons of them,
Mm-hmm. And if you're gonna watch an Elvis movie, the best batch to go with are the ones that he did with Hal Wallace at Paramount, from the late 50s into the early 60s.
Okay.
I mean, my personal favorite out of that batch is King Creole.
King Creole.
But that was when he really had, they were using some of the best of directors and writers to come up with scenarios for Elvis to sing and dance in. That as you go down the line, the ones that he did for other studios, you begin to see a decline in quality because the Colonel is just like, okay, we're going to crank these out one after another. So, but there's some real care and love in that initial batch.
Oh yeah, and the world of '63 is very different from the world of like '69 or later in the decade as well. But the number one thing I'm absolutely going to make it to is Live and Let Die. I've seen very few of the old Bond films on the big screen. They're rarely shown at the New Beverly. It's just not the sort of thing that gets shown there much. But to see Live and Let Die on the big screen, I'm all over that.
It's the first Roger Moore installment. Mm-hmm. It is it's the first one with of two that feature. I am Clifton James as Sheriff Pepper, the comic relief.
Yeah.
It's got so many beautiful women in there. It's got that Dynamite theme song.
Yes.
And I was having an argument with somebody over the fact that I love the theme song because it's one of the only songs I know that doesn't have verses. It has a chorus, it has a bridge, it has a chorus.
Yeah?
Nobody tries that anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a great observation. Yeah, and Yaphet Kotto.
Get to rocking.
Oh, yeah.
And Yaphet Kotto, and who's the guy from the old 7-Up commercials? Isn't
Jeffrey
he
Holder?
Jeffrey Holder. All right. Well, that was a really good New Beverly report there.
That is stacked. That is a stacked month.
Stacked month, and great to be able to discuss all of these. We're going to have to let you go because you have to get to the New Beverly tonight, right?
Oh yeah. There's an event I can't afford to miss, but I can stick around a little longer to talk about the combo that we saw just the other night.
Right. I do want to ask you, is this what you're going to see tonight?
TNT Jackson.
The name is Diana Jackson. TNT to you.
This hit lady's charms can break both your arms. She's a one-mama massacre squad. You best treat her fine or she'll shatter your spine.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I kind of have to go to this as well. I mean, the ability to see TNT Jackson and what's it feature? The Mothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Two films directed by Cirio Santiago, one of the most prolific directors to come out of the Philippines.
Okay.
Both of them starring the beautiful Jean Bell, former Playboy model and 70s starlet who graciously broke her silence of decades to talk to me and do an interview for the New Bev blog, which you can read about.
Oh, my gosh.
Just hasn't been on record in decades about her career, and I got her to talk.
Oh, my God.
And The Mothers is a pretty fun adventure because you have got not one, but four beautiful black actresses of the 70s all in one rousing adventure. You have Jean Bell, you have Roseanne Caton, you have Jane Kennedy before she worked for CBS Sports, and Trina Parks from Live and Let Die.
Wow. God, you were throwing so much great information at us. This is so good. This is exactly why I wanted to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Mark. This is great.
One more question before you go here from the crowd. You ever watch movies at the Billy Wilder Theater?
I have. UCLA does some really great programming. I haven't been in a while because of COVID, but before all of that went down, especially the festivals of restoration they were doing, I saw some incredible movies there. I discovered the works of people like Julian Compton and Stanton Kay and Brandy French. So many really incredible creative people who aren't going to get shown even in a place like the Bev because they still have to keep the lights on. But a setting like the Billy Wilder can present stuff from UCLA's holdings and the beautiful restorations they do. So yeah, I recommend the Wilder as well, even though you can't eat food there.
I was going to say, is it for public or is it?
These screenings are public. Yes.
Okay, I haven't heard of it. That's cool.
Yes, it's at the Arm & Hammer building in Westwood.
All right.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever been to the Billy Wilder Theater. Have I, Paul?
I haven't. So I mean, I don't know, but
okay.
That's got to put it on the list because I like the old retro places.
Well, before we wrap up here, I ran into Mark 2 nights ago at an amazing double feature, a Lee Marvin double feature. These two films that I love. Only to realize I hadn't seen one of them, and I hadn't seen one of them in a long time. So it was almost like seeing these two movies. Well, it was like seeing one of these movies brand new, but almost like seeing the other one brand new. Here is the classic scene from the movie Point Blank. And I should point out before I play this clip, this is not a trailer. This is the way the movie is edited. No, that was a long clip, but I find it very hard to cut that short because of how hypnotic the walking. But that whole movie is just not afraid to edit to another shot, and it's just this constant montage, this very experimental presentation of a hard-boiled crime movie.
Oh yeah, I've only seen Having a Wild Weekend as films that John Borman made before Point Blank, but I don't think anybody was prepared for what he pulled off on that movie.
Yeah, and it's just he's got that the British New Wave. It has this surrealistic style. This again the editing in this, but there's a scene where he has a fight in the projection room of this club called the Cinematheque, I believe, and they're being projected on during these fist fights, and at the end of it, it's that sort of like oil thing projected onto his face, and there's just so much surrealistic stuff in this, which you get a lot from these British New Wave guys, but it's just really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And it was coupled with which movie?
It was coupled with Prime Cut.
What do you think of all this, Nick?
I think it stinks.
This is my country.
Yeah.
I give it just what it wants. Dope and flesh. Something up the arm.
Gene Hackman, baby.
Belly. You have a good time
full
last
on.
night? Huh?
He's so good in this.
Lee Marvin. Gene Hackman. Prime Cut. The gangster film that's a cut above.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a Michael Richie film who I first learned of from Fletch, and then I started checking out other Michael Richie films, which, you see Bad News Bears, and you go, oh, obviously the good director of Fletch could direct that. And while there's a lot of humor in this, it ain't winking at the camera when it does it. And this is a real, what they call, we always talk about 70s movies. They got this edge to them. Michael Richie was a 70s filmmaker, and he's never listed along with the other, 70s filmmakers that made rougher movies, a little hard around the edge,
Michael Richie is one of my favorite filmmakers, let alone 70s filmmakers, and indeed he, his estimation has, fallen partly because, circumstances in his life kind of drove him to doing paycheck gigs. I mean, it happens to a lot of directors, but
right.
That there's definitely a kind of a dividing point where, the last few films he did don't really measure up. Although I personally love The Fantastics. I think it's ironic that he made it before his last film, but it was his last released film, and that's kind of a nice one to go out on, if you ask me.
I've never seen it.
It's
I never knew that play was filmable. I thought it's such a fantastic theater piece. It's good to hear that you liked it.
Well, I think he found an innovative way to do it. I mean, it took him a long time. It was 5 years in editing, and being suppressed by the studio, but I feel like he pulled it off. Not your mileage may vary, but Richie's 70s films are so, because Prime Cut and The Candidate came out in the same year.
Okay, really? Wow.
Yeah, so he was able to do incredible work at high speed. So the run he had of those two films, of Downhill Racer, of Smile, of the Bad News Bears, it's a tremendous body of work.
And Smile is one of those movies. That's Bruce Dern, and it's about a young kid's Miss America, competition, and this incredibly it's I don't know what you say about it, not cynical, but like it's a satire, right? Of beauty and all this stuff.
Well, it is an unflinching portrait of what provincial thinking does to people.
Okay.
It's one of my all-time favorite movies. That's another one that I've written about for the Bev. That I wrote a big piece on Smile for the Bev, and Kim Morgan wrote one as well. So I recommend reading both of our essays on that movie.
Yeah, but Michael Richie just has this sense of humor that I think a lot of people could watch it and not catch any of the satirical stuff and just. Prime Cut, there's a lot of good laughs in Prime Cut, and luckily a New Beverly audience is going to catch that. Like, the entire opening is this loving music over cutting meat, and it gets funnier and funnier. But, of course, the thing is they have killed someone in some mob action, and they've turned him into hot dogs, and then they send those hot dogs to somebody as a threat, and that's how the whole thing gets kicked off there. But
yeah, that's kind of the big clue that, okay, if you can't handle this, you'd better go to the concession stand and get your money back, because it's only going to get more gruesome from here. So many thoughts came into my head as I was watching Prime Cut for the first time. First of all, looking at Lee Marvin, it occurred to me, I think this is potentially how Benedict Cumberbatch might age. That they both have.
What a thought!
They both have that kind of lean face, and now, granted, I don't think Lee Marvin ever would have deigned to play Doctor Strange, but wouldn't it have been awesome if he did?
Wow!
But
70s TV Doctor Strange.
Well, no, I think if you've got Lee Marvin, you're going theatrical on that one.
That's true. It would have been the theatrical.
Also, I think about the fact that. I don't know if this was intentional in the script, but that both Lee Marvin and Gene Hackman's characters are united over having experience with a female character named Clarabelle, and who is played by Angel Tompkins, a very underrated talent. And it occurred to me that the two... Your girlfriend was right to leave you.
Now don't start a fight. We can't back you up.
Word. Yeah.
That
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
And it occurred to me that the two most recognizable individuals that we think of when we hear the name Clarabelle are either a clown,
right,
or a cow.
Ah, yes.
And in a sense, Angel is playing both. That and
well, there's
and
the
this
great
would be
line.
a deep.
There's a great line where those Hackman and Lee Marvin are confronting each other, and Hackman goes, "You want to see who's the bigger man? Why don't we pull our pants down right now and see who's the bigger man?" And Lee Marvin goes, "Well, or I could just ask Clarabelle," which is a great hard-boiled line.
Yeah, and that's before we meet her, because they keep referring to her and building her up. So when we finally get to see her, it's a big moment. That and I don't know if I'm ascribing too much cultural literacy to this performer, but I've always wondered if that avant-garde songstress Poppy took her name from Sissy Spacek's character in the film, because Spacek's character is very kind of blissed out and withdrawn and not very verbal.
Yeah, the story of this movie is that Hackman is taking women and drugging them up and making them prostitutes for the highest bidder, and they're in cattle pens. So these guys are walking along these cattle pens and looking, and there's all these naked women in there. It's a really crazy criminal scheme that's going on, prostitution.
Yes, a lot of the critical writing at the time was comparing it to a Vietnam analogy, in that Hackman's character has this whole mob of young men that are handling his guns and carrying out his orders, and most of them getting killed off in the process. And the idea of the war machine grinds up men like hamburger, but but I think the fact that there are that there are so many allusions to how men regard women as just flesh to be traded, even that the last scene of the movie, which I won't spoil, but it almost feels like a PSA for PETA, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah. Huh, interesting. Yeah, very. But there's so much satire going on that it's. I think you're correct on all those points on that. But really fun double feature, and great cinema.
Yes, indeed. I'll say goodbye, Mark, but I have a feeling you'll see Adam tonight. So
I think I might have to go.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, people can find me on Twitter. My handle is right there. And,
there it is.
And you please read my stuff at the New Beverly blog. You can also read my more in-depth personal stuff at my own blog, which is projectorhasbeendrinking.blogspot.com.
Okay. We'll link all that in the repost of this, and also some of the other links you were talking about to various articles here. I'll go source all those and we'll put them in, because you're such a wealth of knowledge on this stuff, and I want everybody to be able to just go access these things, because I know it comes fast and furious when we're talking about movies here. So we'll post all that stuff on our Twitter as well. But thank you for joining us for this mega-sized edition of the New Beverly calendar.
Yeah, we normally put in 10 minutes, and there you go.
The new
And I think this is accurate.
I'm on a podcast, sir. Right. Exactly. I love that. Like, no, I'm on a podcast. I'm like, yeah, that's how you should be defensive about it. Not
Also,
like, I'm sorry, I'm doing a podcast here. It's like, hey, I'm doing a podcast.
Yes. If there's somebody across from you, you're talking like that anyway. There just isn't. So
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
You want silence? Don't go to a public place, dummy.
Yeah, anybody else can sit there and have a loud conversation. Well, I'm talking to this person, but because he's talking to the computer, it's like, what the...
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shit. Well, that was an extended thing. What do we have on? What do we have? We have that. We have the Batman.
I mean, any other week, Batman would have dominated this entire conversation because it is Batman week. I'm obsessed with superheroes and superheroes doing superhero stuff.
I like, from the beginning, I've liked the choice to have a color palette for these movies. You know, like it's brown, right? For Batman Begins, it's blue for The Dark Knight. It's kind of a yellow for a dark yellow for The Dark Knight Rises, and now it looks like they've gone red for the Batman. And I like that they dipped back into that and said all our advertising, all our text and font and everything is red, and I think that's cool. I don't know why I like that so much, but I just go, oh, I want to see what they do with that now in this one. So
yeah, no, I love the shot that it's basically, you know, the reddest shot in the trailer is the him with the flare and a shot of Batman all wet with a flare over him and everything. It's so cool. I love it.
Holy cats! A cat!
I pulled a few Robin drops, and also
really?
I did.
Care to play another one?
Holy catastrophe!
Oh, that one's too short.
Holy murder!
Holy murder! The funny thing about that is he's probably talking about a murder, right? Like normally he would say, you know, holy catastrophe, and it's like a cat did something, or holy.
Yeah.
But he's probably talking about a murder, and he went, holy murder.
Holy murder.
Right on.
Holy cliche.
Talking about the whole episode, probably.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the Batman here. It's the biggest superhero movie of the year. It's a DC movie, so it's not going to be one of the better ones, but I'm so excited.
Yeah, like I said with all DC movies, they make it again, and I'll like it, or give me the director's cut, and then I'll like it. But
yeah,
I'm in line to eventually like it, which is fun.
Yeah, but I did, as I was pulling lots of clips of Robin and of course Batman. I thought it would be fun to take the Batman trailer and add the old announcer from the Batman TV show, William Dozier, to it and see if it played. So this is the Batman bit that I brought today, is the Batman, the William Dozier cut. And this is
Engage.
this Engage, right?
You think Gotham City is a peaceful city? Ho, ho, ho! Put your gum under your seats, hold your breath, and get ready to cheer Batman and hiss his diabolical enemies. Hissable enemy number 1 is now about to strike.
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind.
Things certainly are turning the wrong way for them.
Violence you may find.
Selena, don't throw your life away.
Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them.
Holy cats! A cat!
We have fun here. We wanted to make sure there was some nonsense in the show, too, after an hour of talking New Beverly.
Yeah, that's kind of posh movie talk. You get into, such a...
Yeah, Jean Diehlmann were...
Yeah, exactly. This is the type of dumb shit I needed to sort of cleanse the palate. Thank you, Adam. I didn't know that was coming. I love that. And who's the guy? I mean, I didn't even know what was coming when you press play, because who are you talking about? Who's the guy who does the voiceover?
Oh, William Dozier. He's the producer, but he's also, what's this?
Yeah.
That's the William Dozier. That's his voice, the actual producer of the show, the guy that created it.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I love that William Dozier stuff. It's so much fun, you know.
Holy chocolate eclair.
Hey, and by the way, speaking of Prime Cut,
Holy contributing to the delinquency of minors.
Is that this Friday? Is the Batman?
Friday. Well, I have tickets. Yeah,
you do.
Oh yeah.
Is there enough theaters that I could get one now, or is it all? It can't be sold out. No, the movies don't sell out anymore because they put them in 800 theaters, right?
A friend got them for me, and I mean, have I had experienced a sellout since COVID? I mean, I don't think so. I think
that's
always,
true.
There's always something. I mean, even if
that's
you find
true,
3 theaters sold out, that 4th one will have tickets. You know?
Yeah, I guess I'm just confusing like everybody saying I've got my tickets with tickets are incredibly hard to get. Like, you know, but people still just report, I got my tickets. And back in the day, that would be like, oh, well, geez, it's Phantom Menace opening weekend. I don't have to. You got your tickets? You know, so that's true. I guess I'm confusing that with the fact that they're going to be sold out. Wow, I get to see a Batman in the theaters this weekend.
And get ready. It's 3 hours.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
like
awesome.
we talked about here. I'll take 10 if it's good.
Oh, gimme. No, the longer the better for these movies. This could be as long as Jean Diehlmann's, or whatever, the Chantal Ackerman's Jean Diehlmann. I should memorize the title of that movie because it's an absurd one to know the full title of whatever.
That's at 2:00, right? Temple of Doom. And what a day you could have right there.
Oh, Saturday? Yeah, go see Temple of Doom and then the Batman?
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Here's a report from the streets. William Harold is seeing it tomorrow, and that show is sold out.
No, Tuesday, yeah.
Oh,
Tuesday.
Is it an investor screening like we saw with
investor
Jackass?
Screening.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, that's well. So since it opens on Tuesday, is that considered the weekend when they do the stats? They're like, big opening weekend.
It doesn't open on Tuesday, but
he's
seeing it Tuesday. So
yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. It's some advanced deal thing. So
that's cool.
That's pretty cool. Which they'll be having, to get the word out and get the hype up.
Yeah.
I wanted to. We've got like 9 minutes left because I don't want to go too much.
No. It's time because we can talk about Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, I watched that. We'll talk about that next week because
this just happened yesterday. I want to talk about the Screen Actors Guild Awards.
Okay.
And I say this all the time. And Michael Keaton, upon winning his award for being a lead actor in Dope Sick, which is brilliant.
You've talked all about that.
Took my words here. I'm going to try and share a screen.
Is Dope Sick a movie?
It's a Hulu series.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll see it sometime.
It's excellent.
If it's TV, I'm sorry. You just get relegated.
And here's what he said that I concur with, and I try and say eloquently a lot on the show.
Oh. Give her some volume.
There's no volume there?
Is it on your screen? Oh.
Rhetoric tonight is self-serving, narcissistic. Yep. It's a legitimate argument to be made. That said, I will tell you, and I'll speak for myself, I am so fortunate. I mean, we can spend a week here talking about how fortunate I am, and I know all of that. And who wants to hear Mike ramble on for a couple hours? But I'm so blessed to do what I do. I'm so fortunate, and I'm only going to speak for myself. I have a job where I can be part of a production like Dope Sick, or Worth Thinking, or whatever, that actually can spawn thought, conversation, actual change. Who gets to have that job? Seriously, how fortunate am I that good can come from something that I do just because I wanted to become an actor? There's massive inequity in the world. In Dope Sick, when you talk about addiction, the way to heal the problem is to accept that you have a problem. Not our country, the entire world. The gist is, It's fair and it's unfair. There's not a lot of in between. I can feel right now the rolling thunder of Ireland coming across, people saying to me things like, shut up and dribble. Shut up and act. The acting, I'll quit. The shutting up, not so much.
And he goes on to dedicate the award to a nephew that he lost to drugs, and that's what the film is about Oxycontin. And I'm getting that the sound is pretty poor. Oh well, I tried to pull this clip, but the clip was too huge and it wouldn't play, so I had to try and share screen. It's a mess. But yeah, just that, you know, they're sure enough, they're getting pushback today. Like all the problems in the world, and these guys are going and celebrating their awards and all that. Look, if you don't celebrate arts, you're not celebrating the thing that separates us from places where they're having a lot of troubles in the world. And yeah, I like that. I've always liked that. I always think you should celebrate art. And you know, is it dopey to talk about what people are wearing in the red carpet with all the troubles in the world? Oh, yeah, well, it always has been. That's just stupid. But and I think, Adam, you're muted as you were during that thing. But
yeah,
I was happy to see him go up there and say that. They call it out, like, yeah, people say this is frivolous, but I'm thrilled that what I do gets to make changes. And I've always said that's become my new elevator speech. I think I've told you that when. And then you get in a whole conversation about what that means. You know, don't just say I'm an actor. Oh.
What do you always say? Yeah, I didn't catch the whole thing.
Okay. Am I back? I'm looking at very few lines of the thing. I say I change molecules. I change people's molecules. That's my job. It came from some TED talk I saw where somebody says, you know, what do you do? Say that. And then you get into a whole conversation about what that means, which Glenn Close, I think, once said, you know, she changes people's molecules when she
changes people's molecules,
does a show or does a film or does something. I mean, you are a different person before you saw her thing than you are coming out. And that's magical. And I'm cool. I'm also glad that Michael Keaton acknowledged that. So those two things that he mentioned, that this is not frivolous, that if we don't have arts, what are we fighting to keep America for? You know, and what's keeping us from the dark ages? It's always arts. And anyone who champions that in a speech, I wanted to share it. Even if the sound was shit, that was the point.
Well, I mean, and anybody that parses the arts as being unnecessary, yes, you're technically correct. I will not starve if movies go away because I still have food. I will not die of thirst without movies because I still have water. But what's the point of that, parsing anything that way?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like, who cares? You know, that's, yeah.
Thanks, Pat. That's you got my back.
You have changed molecules.
I've changed Pat's molecules.
And there was much rejoicing.
You don't want to get into Texas Chainsaw Massacre yet?
I mean, I could, but it's not like it's a new movie. So now it's just sort of like, what did you see this week? I could talk about it.
Yeah.
But
so I could talk about King Richard, but I will when we do our Oscar rant in a couple of weeks for sure. So.
Right, and I'll talk about Chainsaw Massacre when the Oscar rant too, because obviously it was nominated for shortest movie of the year, I think. But 74 minutes, I think that comes.
They made it legal.
But yeah, I mean, it's basically the question comes down to like, that was clearly a shitty movie I just saw, right? That's clearly a bad movie. But on what scale are slasher films, which I love? Oh, that's right. They're all bad. on the scale that matters, right? They're all bad. Friday the 13th Part 1 is a good movie, but it's bad because it's not Gandhi. It's not, it's not handled with kid gloves. There's nothing cinema-y about it. And yet, it clearly is cinema, and certainly once you make a second and third and fourth and fifth, well, now it's definitely cinema, because it's sequels and all stuff. So, Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, I jokingly said it after I was finished watching it, but, so they So the record now is there are no good Chainsaw Massacre movies besides the first one. Because that's basically true. I like a lot of those movies, but
it does become easier
they're
when they're all bad to to group it instead of go, wait, 3 was good, 5 was okay. It's better to just say, oh, they're all shit. That's easier on the viewer. You know?
And it's like, I understand people say Friday the 13th Part 5 is bad or whatever, but like, once you know it and then watch it, it's now good because you've set your expectations correctly. Now, I've only seen this movie once, and you know what? I loved Texas Chainsaw 3D. For some reason, and I did the classic Adam thing for that one. I watched every Chainsaw Massacre, then went to go see that one. That's, of course, the way to do it. Except for Die Hard 6, because that made us hate Die Hard 6. Or Die Hard 5, whichever one it was.
I think it was 5, yeah.
Was it 5? That made us hate that movie, watching Die Hards all day. That's
I know. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And we were just like, from the beginning of the movie, you're like, ugh. And that's a bad movie anyway. But
we were too closely removed from Die Hard to enjoy a good day to Die Hard.
Yeah, because it's a good conversation about what sequels are pure diminishing returns. I think Die Hard is probably the one. Die Hard movies go like this. Yeah. Some movies go like this, and that, and or Star Trek movies.
Although I have parts of 4 I enjoy, Live Free or Die Hard. Like just the action sequences at the end of that are excellent with the truck and the planes and the destroying the.
But it's not as good as 3. And
you know what
I'm saying? True. It's like
no, you're right. I thought 3 would have been. Yeah, I'm thinking 3 was.
Now I actually probably like 3 more than 2. But which is a better movie?
I'll make an argument for Paul Thomas Anderson movies. That's just me.
Straight down. Oh, Licorice Pizza is at the end of that curve.
That's not a. It's not a sequel. So anyway,
are you counting Hard 8? So you go Hard 8 is better than Boogie Nights?
I haven't seen it, so you can't beat Boogie Nights.
I think Hard 8 is better than Boogie Nights.
Then I look forward to it.
It is tough to beat Boogie Nights, but what he does in Hard 8, he never directs a movie like that again. And that cast is out of control. And it's Paul Thomas Anderson in 96 minutes. Like, what does that look like? In a crime movie?
Punch Drunk Love.
Pretty good. Yeah. Oh yeah, Punch Drunk Love. That's true. That's a shorty from him. But so anyway, I was really discombobulated after Chainsaw Massacre because I'm like, that movie sucked. I hate that movie. And yet, well, all these movies are bad, and I want to, and you know me, because I'm like, okay, now I got to try and like it. That's when I exit any movie I don't like. I'm like, okay, how can I like that movie, though? And I just have to give a shout out to, what was his name? I wrote it here because I was going to forget it. The Ringer podcast. They have from The Ringer, it's called The Big Picture. And if you're having trouble making sense of how you feel about the new Chainsaw Massacre movie, which is bad, but is it? You got to listen to Alex Ross Perry, who's a really great, and he just came off of, and they reminded me, I was like, where do I know that name? He just came off of a blank check with the Movie Trivia Schmoedown's Griffin Newman, where he gave a wonderful contextual conversation on Halloween. Because they just did John Carpenter as their nobody put John Carpenter on the wheel if you're playing Griffin Newman, but he just did that for Chainsaw Massacre, and everything he talks about in that is what I'm trying to reconcile, and then more, and ultimately, I don't know if it makes me like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but at least like I accept it as a part of the series. I mean, it's definitely not the worst. Okay, what if you don't say all of them are bad, which they're not, because if you're watching a slasher movie now, they've got levels or whatever. It's certainly not the worst Chainsaw Massacre movie, but it felt like it. You know, I think most people call Chainsaw Massacre 3D the worst one, and I thoroughly enjoyed that and still enjoy watching that movie. It's not great, but it's like, it just does some fun, cool stuff. This one does some fun, cool stuff too. But the Alex Ross Perry going down the idea of these like video nasties, you know, like the movies you couldn't see or banned in 46 countries and all this sort of stuff. The pure joy of the idea that Chainsaw Massacre was this movie that nobody should see. It's terrible. It's just too raw. It's too whatever. And to make this like Netflix IP, from Legendary Pictures is just like so fascinating. Anyway, I highly suggest that if you need to wrap your head around Chainsaw Massacre, which I needed to, and I just much like Marc Edward Heuck when I left. The gift of immediately leaving a screening the second I'm done with Prime Cut, and there's so much to discuss and talk about from that movie, to walk to the back of the theater and go, okay, and then we just go into it for like 20 minutes. It's just so, yeah, he will crystallize your thoughts on Chainsaw Massacre, which I doubt you're going to watch.
You're probably right, considering I need to see, and I wrote these down, yet to see before the Oscars. Drive My Car, Parallel Mothers, Being the Ricardos, Tick Tick Boom, Cyrano, The Worst Person in the World, Flea, and most of the documentaries. So I got a lot of that stuff to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got that and more. I haven't seen Belfast. I haven't seen I haven't seen Coda, and I just signed up for Apple TV so I can watch that. Yeah, I'm way behind on this stuff, and I knew it. I knew before
Coda
I watched.
Won at the Screen Actors Guild Awards for Best Cast. I thought that was fantastic.
Okay.
It was it was virtually my ballot that won. It never happens. Will Smith, Jessica Chastain, Coda.
Oh, for which awards?
For the SAG Awards.
For the SAG Awards.
The only ones I got to vote for.
Oh, okay.
For Ariana DeBose, and it was right on down. It was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's great. Oh, so basically everything you wanted to win won?
Kind of.
That's
yeah, except
cool.
there's a lot of TV shows I haven't seen just because there's too many.
Yeah.
But yeah, for film and for Michael Keaton, I was pretty much in line with it. So
right on.
I am magical, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up and get the hell out of here.
All right.
I feel like I should something different should be here. Do that again. All right, one more time.
What's this?
It's trying to change our anyway.
Yeah.
Holy explosion!
All right. That's our show. Listen to us, not just here. Oh, I just interviewed two filmmakers who are nominated for Best Live Action Short this year. And let me make a recommendation to everybody to go and watch The Long Goodbye, short by Anil Karia and Riz Ahmed, who is now Oscar nominee again, like he was last year for Sound of Metal. He's nominated this year for the live action short film, short film called The Long Goodbye, based on some of his music from an album of the same name. It's a hard short to watch. A lot happens in it, and it's worth seeing. And then I'll post my interview with Anil Karia. You can go to Riz Ahmed's YouTube page, just watch The Long Goodbye, 11, 13 minutes, something like that. It's a short film. And then my interview with the director will be up in a couple of days, so look out for that. And everything we're doing at themovieguys.net. The Ford Fiesta is still out there. We've just watched Blade Runner, so we have that coming up. And
we had to skip ahead because our friend Dave's going out of town, so we still have to we still got Empire and Raiders.
I know, and yeah,
Apocalypse. Right. Yeah. So it goes Apocalypse Now, which will be coming out this week. By this time next week, it will be out, and then hopefully pretty quickly we can get into Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Blade Runner. But yeah, we had pushed Blade Runner ahead. So yes, we have recorded our Blade Runner episode, but it was a little discombobulating because I was like, because we're used to like, oh, this Harrison Ford, the guy from, previous movie. So it's kind of like, I had to kind of like adjust my brain. I'm like, okay, he's coming off of Raiders. And even in the thing, you're like, you started counting down the Harrison Ford punch count, but we hadn't counted Raiders.
That's right.
And you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm way off here.
We're ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But
because there's only how many punches in Blade Runner?
Yeah. Just one. Yeah. But that's it. We'll put the info for Marc Heuck in this when we post it on social or post it on YouTube or on themovieguys.net as well. And Pat Peach posted this link to the Father Stew trailer, which makes me think Pat worked on that movie because he's worked on a lot of movies. Yes,
Pat Peach is watching. Hi, Pat Peach.
Yeah, former Movie Guys guest back in the Showcast days. and has worked on all manner of movies. So if you haven't
and
seen
we know
The
a bunch of
Fathers-
same people from Chicago, right? Pat was from Chicago, right?
Well, there you go. Produced it.
Yeah.
I saw that trailer last weekend in the theater before. What did I go and see? Something before that, and yeah, this is a quality return for Mel Gibson, who plays Mark Wahlberg's father in the story. It's a crazy story about a guy
Love
who's
Mel.
into boxing and he gets hurt, so he goes into the priesthood, but he gets hurt, and so then the village has to rally around him, and he's got this complicated relationship with his father, and a lot going on there. And we like seeing Mel Gibson, and of course always root for his return to greatness. Will it happen?
Yes.
I don't know, but he'll be great in
Yes.
this.
I want his return to greatness, and he's
He's always great. Return
That's
to
the
a
thing.
great stature in the public eye. But
well, it's one of those things, obviously, for very different reasons than Michael Keaton. He has left the public eye. For a while there, Michael Keaton wasn't working, and finally you saw Michael Keaton in a movie, and you're like, oh, he's great. Well, of course he is. He's Michael Keaton. Every time I see Mel Gibson, I'm like, I know he did bad. I know, we're not accepting his return, but each time I see him, just kick ass.
He's great.
Like, he's still a good actor.
He's great.
He's still my Mel Gibson. So yeah, hopefully he can. But hey, the people will allow him back. Whenever they feel he's done his time and apologized enough, and I have to accept that because the guy, he messed up.
Well, it's like when Kevin Hart got in trouble for his tweets and lost the job hosting the Oscars. Ricky Gervais said, "Look, that's from a long time ago," and he apologized. If you're not accepting the apology, then you are encouraging more of the same behavior. So we can only take him on his word that Mel's turned his life around, and also, who gives a damn if the movies are good? I mean, honestly,
Fat Man is now a yearly watch for me. It's just yeah.
Well, here you go. He was a good guy in the film.
Awesome,
and
that's
he
great.
killed it. And I like to think of him
so
on
exciting.
the
Pat
set
worked
with
with him.
I like to think of him on the set with Mark Wahlberg on Daddy's Home 2, right? And then coming up with hey, we should work together. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then hiring the great Pat Peach.
Didn't make that connection. That's awesome.
All right. And his wife directed it. Who knows? All right, there's a lot coming up with a lot of Mel, which we like to see.
Okay, that's
all
very
right.
interesting.
Go watch that trailer and go watch The Long Goodbye. And soon I'll have my interview with Anil Karia up. And join us next week as we get weird.
Yeah, we'll be weird.
Movie weirdness.
Some days you just can't get rid of them.
Holy smoke! Holy showcase! Holy haberdashery! Holy popcorn! Holy Koufax! Holy Jack in the Box! Holy ravioli! Holy safari! Holy iceberg! Holy blizzard! Holy schizophrenia!